your website is the salesman that never sleeps.
Mm-hmm.
And so is that salesman producing confidence? Is that salesman doing the things that it needs to do to get people from interested to buying? Welcome to the Maven Marketing Podcast. Today is Maven Monday. I'm your host, Brandon Welch, and I'm joined by my co-host, Caleb. Fancy t-shirt, Agee. Where'd you get that fancy t-shirt?
I got it from this place called the Maven Marketing Podcast.
We are giving away fancy t-shirts. You ask a question this week about your business. Bonus one, you get your question answered for your business. You get some growth advice.
Yeah, $1 million ideas.
Cherry on top, we'll send you a fancy t-shirt. Make sure you include your size. Where do they send those questions?
MavenMonday at frankandmaven.com.
Send us your real-life marketing questions because this is the place where we answer those real-life marketing questions so you can eliminate waste in advertising, grow your business, and achieve the big dream. And today, we are honing in on that wasted advertising part.
Yes.
We hate wasted advertising.
We hate it.
Nate, why do we exist?
To help entrepreneurs confidently grow their business without wasting money on advertising.
Boom.
That is why we exist. We say it every single week. That's how we start our week.
Yep.
That's how we start our meetings. If you know that, you know that if you're a Frank and Maven peep. But one of the biggest sources of wasted advertising is
your website.
It's kind of the funnel where all the rubber hits the road.
Everything
at the same time.
points, all roads lead to not Rome. Your website.
Your website. And if you are unprofitable there, meaning if you're not doing the right things there, it can literally be the gatekeeper of millions of dollars in business.
Yeah.
We've often made huge impacts in a company just by changing a few things on a website, maybe not even a whole one. But so today is like just a leveling episode. Be like, some people may be trying to sell you a website and you don't actually need one.
Mm-hmm.
Some people may be not trying to sell you a website. You should find one of those people. And we're going to give you 7 like objective things, just check boxes to go through and say, are you in a position where you need a new site?
Do I need a new one? Yeah.
So pretty simple. I see us using this episode to send a lot of people that reach out to us about new websites, right? Because a lot of times, because we are so hell-bent on not wasting money on advertising, we will say you actually don't need a new website.
Yeah.
You may want one, and that's a different story, but you don't actually need one.
Yeah.
We can make the one you have work better. So there's 7 things, and we're just going to jump right into those.
Yeah. First one is conversion rate.
Yeah.
That is, we want to know whether or not your website actually makes hay. We call the conversion rate, usually conversions on a website look like form fills, calls. If you have an e-commerce website, that would be purchases, or if you do tourism, that'd be bookings, all of those kinds of things, right? And we want to know whether or not when people go to that website, are they taking an action?
Yes.
Otherwise,
are they taking the next step?
Otherwise, you've handed them a brochure.
Yes.
That they're going to throw in the trash can.
How would somebody know if their conversion rate was good or bad, or what it even is?
You would use Google Analytics, or if you're using paid traffic, you can go to Google Ads and check your conversion rate there. A good conversion rate would be 5%. It would be where we would say you could probably
baseline,
work it up to 5%.
You can certainly have more. We have sites with 30, 40% conversion rate. But a lot of people are surprised when I tell them, like, hey, 5% is decent for like a service website. They're going, I'm only getting 5% of my traffic converting. And it's like, yeah. I mean, usually like that's I wouldn't call that good. I would call that okay, right? Most of the sites that we inherit or come to us from somebody else or somebody who wasn't paying attention are in like the 1%, 1 to 2.
Yep.
And so the analytics tools will tell you this. But you don't have to be a super nerd to figure this out. It's basic math. You're taking the amount of conversions you've had, which for most people is a form fill, like some sort of contact form, or a phone call, which you can track phone calls with CallRail, or Google has some basic call tracking baked in.
Yeah.
And you just divide how many conversions you got into the total number of visits you got.
Yeah. So if you didn't have any tracking set up, you could literally go to your website, export all the submissions on your forms. I had, 10 submissions, and then you can see how many visitors you had.
10 submissions with 100 visits would be a 10% conversion rate.
Yep.
10 submissions with 200 visits would be a 5% conversion rate, right?
You got it.
So that's what a conversion rate is. But if you're below, I'm going to say if you're below 5%, you definitely have an opportunity for improvement. That could be a lot higher for some businesses. E-commerce, you'd want it to be even a little bit higher than that as your baseline.
Yeah.
But,
and I'll say there's a nuance on here because with conversion rate specifically, that alone, I wouldn't say says throw out the whole website. We need a new one. This may mean that it's just, it's a signal. We're looking at more of the whole picture. We have 7 points to look at here. Conversion rate may be able to be updated, fixed with some adjustments.
With better copy. Better social proof, better testimonials, better landing page speed.
More access to the conversion action. The form is high on the page or it's available.
The form is clear. Like a lot of times a form that says contact us takes you to some random page and there's nothing on that page producing confidence and reassuring you what's going to happen on the other side of that form. Sometimes just clarifying and making the form language more customer-centric will help a ton. Right?
A really powerful, we don't always call these conversions, but another action that people can take is chat. I'm not going to get on the side, would chase that rabbit for a second, but chat can be a really powerful conversion tool.
It can. Yes, because people may not be ready to fill out a form, but they would start a conversation with you, right?
Yep.
So check your conversion rate. If it's below 5%, you undoubtedly have a opportunity. I'm going to say if it's in the 1% to 2%, it could be a signal of some really bad things wrong. If it's just floating in that 4 to 6%, probably some messaging tweaks would fix it.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the next thing, which could affect conversion rate.
Yes.
And that would be load speeds, just the overall speed and usability of your website.
Yep. So we like to use a tool called GT Metrics. So that's metrics with an X.
We'll put the link in the comments.
Yeah, you can.
Or you're also going to leave a comment for us, right? Leave us a comment while you're looking at the comments.
Comment with your GT Metrics page speed score.
Oh, yeah.
And
we'll get you a t-shirt.
We'll help you out.
Yeah.
Okay. So what they do is they take, Google has their own, and there are some others out on the internet that help grade and speed your website. We want to go to GT Metrics because they look at multiples at the same time instead of getting a one biased opinion.
Yes.
And,
so you're going to go to that GTmetrics with an X.com, put in your website score. It's going to take about 8 seconds and it's going to spit out all like a grade, like an A, B, C, D, or F grade.
Yeah.
And then it's going to tell you why something's bad. Sometimes it's just a technical thing you can call up your website nerd.
Yep.
They can fix. A lot of times it's going to point to like there's so many things overwhelmingly slow or bad from like the server side or the coding side of the website, the true nerd stuff.
Yeah.
That it's going to start to make sense to consider a total rebuild because a lot of that's just structure and server based. So it's a case by case basis. But your first step in knowing, hey, how am I performing here is go to gtmetrics.com, put your website in, and it'll give you some scores and all the things that are wrong if they are wrong.
Yes.
And you'll know kind of where you stand on that.
And the cool thing it'll show you that's really interesting is it'll show you when the user first sees something might be 1 second in, but then it'll also talk about the full content and how long that takes to load. And what you find a lot of times is that first second, they see something, but it takes 12 seconds, 20 seconds to load everything. And that's a little bit of a danger zone.
And that's where it really starts affecting your conversion rate because like it or not, people are impatient. And especially if it's from a paid traffic and it's a service they're trying to get quick action on, just a poor user experience just adds to a negative first impression of your brand. And it's not like they're going to like maybe even compute that like and say, ooh, this is a slow website. The heck with you guys. I'm not using you. But really, like the tolerance is less than a minute for somebody to be looking for what they want. It's there's a lot of one-liners of what it is, but it's certainly in like the 10 to 20 second range. And so if the stuff's just not loading, it's just like, man, back button, click the next website that loads fast. So that's a big one.
That leads us right into your tech. So your website, the technology that supports it severely affects your page speed. It affects the user experience. This is the backbone of the whole thing. So
I like to use the example of iPhones.
Yeah.
How long do you hold on to an iPhone? I mean, Caleb is a very
I'm a laggard.
He's a laggard on the
scale.
On the early adopter
My iPhone
scale.
had a button till like a year ago.
Yeah.
But no.
Caleb's kind of defiant in the technology, but most people would agree with the analogy. Every couple of years, you're going, okay, I know it's outdated, and then the laggards maybe hold on to that device 3 or 4 years. That's technology. That's the speed of technology,
Yeah.
right? And it's not. Sometimes it's not just because we want the newest, fanciest thing. That's a bad reason to do a website in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
It's literally the world around it, and the websites and the apps and the softwares update around it so much that that device becomes inept at participating with the newest technology.
Yes.
In the website world, that is things like Google Chrome and Safari. And as those update themselves for security and for some user experience type things, if your website was built on old technology and the threshold is probably 4 or 5 years, you're way behind the times from what modern website browsers, how it renders your site and things like that. So the experience is going to be poor.
Yeah. So you want to pay attention if you're on some sort of like CMS similar to like WordPress is a common one we use a lot. We love WordPress, but you got to make sure that your WordPress itself is updated. PHP on your server is updated. You've got to make sure your themes are updated, your plugins are updated, because any of those being behind the times can cause your website to load slow or have a security vulnerability, which is also dangerous because you don't want bots getting in there and trying to hack stuff. I'm not trying to scare
you don't want to get bought and paid for. Yeah. I mean, honestly, that happens sometimes. We have had some websites we've built that just aren't people we talk to often anymore. And like 7 or 8 years goes by and like they'll call us and be like, my website is totally nuked and like the Russians got control of it. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. It wasn't necessarily our responsibility to do that. We will help them get out of that situation. But a lot of times, like if it's any key piece of your business at all, you can get it hijacked. And generally speaking, if you keep it up to date, if you got somebody doing regular maintenance on it, or at the point of 4 or 5 years, you update it and give it, the newest, latest security features.
Yeah.
You're going to prevent yourself from that.
Yeah. A lot of times,
security is baked in.
The way your site was built, 3 years ago, that theme that it was built on, sometimes the developers aren't adding or updating that theme. So WordPress moves forward and your website probably automatically updates with WordPress, but the theme is stuck 2 years ago. And so it's just like that new iPhone, but you have the old OS on it. It's going to be slower than it could have been. It's going to be less sound than it could have been. If you're on something like Squarespace or Wix, this is managed for you. I could talk about the pros and cons of those, but they keep it up to date for you.
The website builders that you pay a monthly fee to, the self-builders, right?
Yeah.
Which are going to generally be your simpler websites. They're not going to have custom functionality or custom branding a lot of times on them. The pro of that, though, is that you're not messing with server stuff and the nerdy stuff that can really cause you problems if you're just not maintaining it. So
even like Shopify, some of those. So
Shopify, Wix, Squarespace, all those sites are going to do that for you.
Yep.
So content out of whack. That's number 5. Just a quick recap. We've talked about conversion rate. We've talked about load speed. We've talked about tech. We're actually going to talk about bounce rate now as number 4. Yeah. Tell us about a bounce rate, Caleb. What is a bounce rate?
So bounce rate actually it was interesting when Google changed to GA4 last year. In case you didn't know, Google had an old
analytics,
universal analytics, and then they switched it to GA4, which
they forced everybody to go to. Last summer.
They stopped serving the old one in June of last year, I think it was. On GA4, they kind of flipped this on its head and they said, "What is an engaged user?" Which I actually like better than a bounce rate, but the more typical way of talking about it is bounce rate. That is somebody comes to your website and leaves without really taking an action or showing any sort of intent to browse the website.
Google can tell when they've done that.
Yes.
Google Analytics can tell when they've done that.
Yeah. And so if you have analytics installed, Google's going to count an engagement as staying there longer than 10 seconds or interacting with an action on the page. So they fill out a form or they have some sort of conversion point or they browse to other pages.
Yes.
So if they don't do those 3 things, they've bounced.
Yes. In the industry, just generally 40% or less is considered kind of okay. Like if you're at 20% or less, you're like really, really good, right?
Bounce rate.
So of a bounce rate, right?
Yes.
So they're kind of bounce is measuring how many people leave. So if 20% of your people, 20 to 40% leave like without taking an action, that's actually fairly decent. That's average, right?
Yeah.
Anything lower than that, you got problems. You got opportunities. It's telling you, hey, people aren't finding what they're looking for, or you weren't otherwise appealing. So right now in GA4, if you're going in there, you're going to click the users tab, the acquisition tab, and it's going to bring up all of your sources, and it's going to tell you there's a column that is called engagement rate. And if that's not 60% or greater, that's a signal that something could be improved pretty drastically.
Yeah. And that what that speaks to is whether or not what you show them, probably even above the fold, what do they see first? Because literally it's 10 seconds. That's all we need to keep them for to be an engaged user. If what's above the fold doesn't catch their attention and draw them in and cause them to scroll down or do something or browse around, then you have not spoken to the need that they arrived with.
This plays so much into conversion rate. So
I
want you to think for a second, your conversion rate and all of these things we've talked about, the performance of your website is the metabolism of your marketing. The performance of your website is the metabolism of your marketing. You can put a bunch of visitors in and get, really bad results from that. If you're using the analogy of food and nutrition, or you can, with a good metabolism or a good conversion rate, you can put a bunch of calories in and they get burned and turn into good things for you, right?
Yep.
So you want these four things so far, like that is a complete leverage of your entire profitability of your marketing. Doubling your conversion rate cuts in half your cost per acquisition of a customer.
Yeah. Well, and think about what we just said with, especially considering, I know we spread these out, but conversion rate and bounce rate. If you have 100 visitors, the industry says it's good if 60 of them don't just leave. We're expecting 40. We're not hoping that 40 leave, but you can reasonably say you have a good website if 60 of them don't leave in 10 seconds.
Yes. And then what do those 60 do, right?
And then, the rest, we have 5% conversion rate that we're calling good. So you think about the numbers you're stacking and the metrics that it takes to get action to happen.
Yeah. What if you got 10 instead of 5 to take the next step? And by the way, that's what we do. That's a huge thing FM comes in and does when we inherit a client. They may be coming to us because they think they want more Facebook ads or better TV ads, or they like our video production, but we're like, hey, what's your website doing? We almost always find an opportunity to instantly increase profitability of what they're already doing. So if you want to do more with less, if you want to get more return on your advertising investment, your conversion rate and the performance of the metrics, or the performance of the pages that get them to the next step, is a huge, huge leverage point. So now we're going to get to some things that are maybe preference-based.
A little more.
And confidence in the brand, right?
Hey, we're taking a quick break from the episode to let you know that Brandon's best-selling book, The Maven Marketer, is available on Amazon in both paperback and now hardback. So if you want to grab a copy, this is our playbook for everything that we talk about here on the podcast. And it tells stories of small business owners who have gone through the same struggles you have and how they've overcome and stopped wasting money on advertising. You can grab a copy by searching for The Maven Marketer on Amazon, or you can click the link in the show notes below. Now back to the episode.
So number 5 is content out of whack.
So we've had sites that had ballooned up, and hear me, they did not need to be ballooned up to over 300 pages on a single website. And our job when we took that site is to ask, we go to strategy first. That's how we work the Maven method. Why do we need this? What are we trying to make happen? And we decided this was actually a college. And we decided their website should be there. There's a portal for students. There's all this other stuff. And a lot of that content was made by department heads. That
just made the site clunky.
It
made it unclear. People didn't. People could have landed on random pages that weren't even accurate anymore.
The goal of their website is student acquisition. It's a marketing tool. And we said, hey, if it doesn't have to do with that, we're going to trim the fat a little bit. And we got that down to 110 pages.
And I remember that particular site went up like 400 or 500% in conversion rate.
Because
getting 4 to 5 times the student opportunities as it was before. And like one student was worth the cost of the website. I mean, not a cheap website at all.
Yeah.
But one student
paid for the whole thing.
Yeah, and we got like 4 times the rate of recruitment for them. So
yeah,
at
every
least.
month.
Every month
for the last 4 years or 3
right?
years that they've had the site.
Yeah, so those are the kind of results you can get. So
yeah. So too much content,
yeah,
you get it. They call that content creep, which is where it just gets out of whack. You've got you're like, hey, we need to put this on our website. It could happen on an individual page. You make a little Frankenstein page where you're like, throw that in there and throw that in there, and you're just stuffing it, and it's confusing. Or you keep adding extra pages, and nobody knows where they're going.
You just start adding call outs on your homepage. Hey, we got this offer now, and you just start stacking stuff in.
Yes.
So is your content out of whack? You could also not have enough content.
Yes.
It could be hurting you in search engine, visibility, search engine speed and preference, and the pages that you want people to actually find to convert. So it could be kind of clogging up your search engine visibility, or you just not ranking well.
Yeah.
And you might actually want more pages to be added, like for specific services, right?
Yes.
So, is your content, does it have everything that you'd want to represent you? Your website is the salesman that never sleeps.
Mm-hmm.
And so is that salesman producing confidence? Is that salesman doing the things that it needs to do to get people from interested to buying, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, number 6. Most people understand this.
The design.
It's probably the reason most people think that they need a new website.
Does it look good? And they pull it up. Here's the deal. I'll actually let you in on a little secret. You look at your website more than anybody else does. Which is interesting because it's easy for us to get tired of our website. So there's a nuance here in that I just got a new website last year, but I'm kind of like, some people like it to be fresh, and that's fine if you want to pay for a facelift. But we got to make sure all these factors are in play, probably. But does it still look good? If your website's more than 2, 3, 5 years old, you are probably behind.
What about 4?
What about definitely 4? No, 4 is perfect. No, I'm just kidding. That's the cycle of design. No.
Yeah, people's preference, just like fashion, just like the coolest looking shirts that come out this year are going to be different next year.
Mm-hmm.
And so just the overall design eye, it's just going to age. It's going to age you. And if you want to be perceived as a modern, in the times company that cares and meets people with beauty and good first impressions, it's a thing. And some things you're just going to take objective look at is the spacing. Does it look like, go pick a national website that's got a team that's spending, 6 figures a year on their design.
Yeah.
Does it kind of look and feel space-wise like a national brand or something else really well done that you're going for? Image resolution. Sometimes there's just old grainy logos. The new Mac screens are like 6K resolution, like and you're right in front of it. Like you can tell when images are outdated and small, right?
Yep.
Mobile functionality and clarity, that's huge. Without a doubt, at least 70% of your traffic is mobile right now. It's probably more than 80, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if your website was designed when the designer was thinking about the desktop experience first and the mobile was nice to have, you're going to have a mobile experience that's suffering. So literally try to be your own customer of your website. Try to go there and say, was this smooth? Was this easy? Was this reaffirming? Was this confident? Was this pleasant?
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have that, what you want to do is probably start over, right?
Yep.
So is it easy to take the next steps with you? Customers expect fast online service. It's just the world we're in. Like an average experience 2 or 3 years ago is below average now.
Mm-hmm.
We expect things to work. We expect them to happen quickly. We expect them to be clear. We expect that we get reassured at every step of that process. And if you're not doing this, you have competitors that are.
Yeah,
right?
They're gonna fly past you.
Yeah, and they're getting the 8% conversion rate while you're at 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Huge competitive thing here. And the last thing is it a modern representation of who you are? I have some clients who have lost a lot of weight, and their older pictures are on there, and it doesn't look like them. And so you're missing an opportunity for them to see the people that they're actually going to interact with, and that's a huge use of a website.
Oh yeah,
so,
yeah, because that speaks to your credibility. If you go to a sales appointment and you don't look like the person that they saw.
Yeah, I'm hoping my team comes to me in a couple months and they're like, hey, you lost a lot of weight. We really need to redo your website.
I was going to
picture.
talk to you about that tomorrow.
Yeah. So it's team pictures, it's job pictures, it's testimonials. Is it just overall stale? And that's in the design category. Anything else you would add to that?
I think if you have questions about that, just look for outside wisdom.
Yeah.
Find somebody you're like, hey, I trust your style. Do you like my website? Can you
Yes.
look at it with fresh eyes? I see it all the time.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
They'll help you see something you don't see.
Side note, we have a new website coming, frankandmaven.com.
Yeah, we do.
7 is search engine ranking. Are you ranking both in maps and organic search results like you should? Like, are you competitive? Because all these things we've added up, and we saved this one for last, kind of equal that end result that you're going to get on a website. Speed, bounce rate, Google looks at, content being organized and helpful,
credible, quality.
Believe it or not, Google actually looks at design now. They have AI that takes a scan and makes a judgment of your website based on how big the buttons are, how high the contrast is.
Yes. Is it easy enough to click on with my big fat thumb?
Yep.
Hey, how'd you know?
Hey, you call my thumb fat?
Yeah.
And so are you ranking? And let me throw a few tools out here because you just Googling yourself or Googling what you think and judging it off that is probably not a good enough picture.
Yeah.
What you want to use is a tool called Bright Local. You can go on and create a report that literally scans the internet as an anonymous person and tells you where you rank for a variety of keywords. You can put up to 50 phrases in there and say, how do I rank for this? How do I rank for this? You can also put your competitors in there and talk about how well they rank. It'll kind of compare the two of you.
Alongside you. Yep.
And then you'll get an objective look at, are you getting your fair share of organic visibility? So,
yeah, you have to have that strong website to ever even think about doing that. So
that's the 7 things: conversion rate, speed, tech, bounce rate, content, design, and search engine ranking. And if those things aren't adding up to the score with some of these benchmarks we talked about, you either need a redesign or you could do a total rebuild, right?
Yeah.
And you're going, okay, what's that cost? We didn't talking about this, but a well-built website that makes this all these things work well for you is probably going to be in the $10,000 to $30,000 range for a local business these days.
Yeah.
To do it well.
Yeah.
You can find somebody who will build a website cheaper, but you're immediately giving up profitability opportunities. You're immediately taking attention off of the things that are going to make you money perpetually.
Yep.
And just think about the difference in half of the people on your website not converting, or cutting that conversion rate in half, right?
Yeah.
If you're getting 10 out of 100, imagine if it went to 5 out of 100 because over time these things just deteriorated.
Yeah.
You've cost yourself half your opportunities, right?
Yes.
So look at those things. If you want us to take a look at it, we'd be happy to do that. Send a question to MavenMonday at frankandmaven.com. And we'll be the first to tell you if you don't need a new website. We'll be the first to tell you if you do.
Yeah. Happy to do it.
Yeah.
We have lots of opinions. So
we do have a lot of opinions.
We would love to share them with you.
Usually backed by experience.
Yes.
Sometimes just backed by emotion, right? So, hey, we'll be here every Monday answering your real life marketing questions. Every Monday. We're coming up on a year.
Yeah, we are.
I think this is episode 47.
Do you ever think we'd make it?
I thought you would make it. I knew you would. We've got some really cool stuff coming up that's going to allow you to take the next step with our team. We're working on a mastermind product where we're going to be able to put this live in your business. If you're a marketer out there or a business owner looking for just a little extra help and going, hey, what would people who do this every day say about this? We're going to give you a way to do that. You can do it with questions here, but we're actually going to workshop your business with this thing we have coming up.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that. And then the 1 year anniversary of the podcast is coming up. So excited about that. We're almost at 11,000 subscribers now. You could get us there by next week if you send this to a friend who you know needs it. Like and subscribe yourself. And like I said, we'll be back here every Monday because marketers who can't teach you why
are just a fancy lie.
Thanks for watching. Have a great week.